Your boy, 322 live via Streamlabs, YouTube. Anyway, not an extensive live stream by any means. But again, anyone that's new to the channel, feel free to like, subscribe, hit that notification. That way, next live stream videos or any uploads going on in my channel, you'll always be in the loop on everything. With that said, I wanted to share kind of like how I did with Kamoshida and with Madarame. Kind of my final thoughts on the Kaneshiro arc. Didn't really call it Kaneshiro Gate because there wasn't anything culturally relevant that I was able to just mirror off of to really discuss. And yes, I have all eight JoJo's behind. So there's that. Anyway, but I just thought about just the whole story in itself. A dude who's a drug lord who has a thing with scamming people, right? And particularly high school kids. Kids are, just trying to, live their lives, but then, hey, you want to make some money? You don't want to work that part-time job. Hey, there's a quick way to get a buck, and then all of a sudden, yeah, about that, you get some of the cut, but oh, by the way, you still have to pay the guy back. That's like the worst. That's like so messed up, and that's such a bad way to uh, exploit unsuspecting young youth. Um, the one thing I could say it does remind me of were the days where when I was in college. It's a little different. It was in college when, you know, the economy was kind of rough, right? It was a recession, people were scrambling for jobs, desperate, almost as bad as what happened last year when the pandemic started. However, this was a lot worse because there was no pandemic. It's just straight up the economy was in the crapper. And then what would happen is you'd have these companies be like, hey, cash opportunity, flexible scheduling. And you find out it's a pyramid scheme trying to tell you, oh yeah, selling knives, for example. I can mention the company, don't really care to do so. But at first, on paper, it's like, oh yeah, you can make some money. Oh, you can work whenever you want to. But there's no base salary for you to start off with. That's an incentive to be like, all right, well, I'm getting paid to go out here and do this, that, and that. All I gotta do is punch in the time that I went out there and try to sell something good. Nope, none of that. Otherwise, you're pretty much asked out. Somewhat similar concept, except that you're dealing with a mob boss over here that has made the money he has in almost a Yakuza style fashion, but under the exploitation of unsuspecting teenagers. I was like, you know what? He got what he deserved. He got his ass whooped by Killer Queen Makoto and the gang. Got what was coming. Now, the one thing that came up, after you defeat him was the fact that talked about how he was always being the one bullied around and everything, and how he wasn't gonna have to take crap from people no more. But it's the instead of it being the case of someone who got bullied, grew the hell up, learned to make the very best of himself, so then he can help other people not get bullied around. He himself became a bully. So instead of him using his upbringing and adversity as a means to be something better and greater, he said, yeah, he made his greatness in terms of money. He was a slime ball. Not a good example at all. But again, not much for me to discuss there. Whereas Madarame, there was a lot to talk about there. With Kamoshida, there was something to talk about there as well. With that said, I might as well just shove it in here because I had just finished the whole story with Futaba and and Wakaba. Because as y'all saw in the storyline, um, Futaba was a treasure, but yet it was her palace all in one. And the main, you know, adversity she faced wasn't herself so much, or even her shadow, but rather it was the ghost of her mother in her mind as this sphinx-like monster. And a lot of it had to do with the perception that it was her fault her mother died and killed herself, when in reality, her mother never committed suicide. And the reason we know this is because there was no actual proof that there's no actual proof. Like it was a bunch of dudes reading a letter and then just talking trash to her. Who's to say that letter wasn't forged? Who's to say that someone else didn't write it? Because I've beaten this game at least 3 times, I already know the outcome. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys because, again, some of you are just following along for the first time. Even though some of you have probably already beat this game on your own and you're just enjoying uh, the way I deal with the storytelling, the way I deal with the narratives, and of course the other confidants that get enmeshed in the middle of everything. Especially since with the awakening of Futaba's persona, which is Necronomicon, uh, which obviously is inspired by H.P. Lovecraft. Having that set in mind, because of the fact that, from what we saw in her palace, well, got the Mayan, Aztec, Egyptian architecture, um, which shows that she is imaginative, and then all these a lot of the binary code, because again, she's a hacker, which means she likes to research things, which means she also most likely is the hermit that she is, always looking at things online, but never actually being able to experience them in real life. Which brings me to one very, very important book that is actually relevant to Persona 5. This guy right here, the Red Book, also known as Liber Novus by Carl Jung, Charles Gustav Jung. The further deeper we dive into Persona 5 Royal, the more of Carl Jung becomes relevant. I mean, in the beginning alone, Morgana already talked about the collective unconscious, something that Carl Jung obviously dives into in this book, and I myself am barely even scratching the surface. But also, the interesting part while playing Futaba's palace, or her tomb, if you will, was finding out that all the architecture, very Mayan, very Aztec, very Egyptian themed, are types of architecture that Carl Jung himself liked to explore and actually like look into in terms of when he was studying mythology in in relation to the human psyche and libido, as well as other aspects of human duality in terms of their conscience, in terms of who they really are deep down versus what they come off as versus who they are on a regular. Having said that, those are my thoughts. My name is Ron322. Hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe. You're welcome to my channel here. Be part of the 322 crew. And of course, subscribe. Hit that notification bell. That way, next time I'm on my PS4 and we're live streaming, or next time I share some final thoughts, if you will, you'll always be in the know into what's going on. So until next time, take care. Be awesome. I'll see you.